Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablan.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This episode of the Queen City Music Podcast is sponsored by Middlesea Jazz, Charlotte's premier jazz club located at 300 South Brevard Street in Uptown Charlotte. Stop in for Thursday night jazz jams, gospel Sundays every third Sunday of the month, or bi-weekly Wednesdays for Remember Wednesdays. But if you prefer, stay in for the evening and watch their Saturday night live stream, where you'll have access to the best performances Middlesea Jazz has to offer. And if you want the VIP treatment, get a Baby Grand membership, where life takes you to a higher note. Tickets are now available for November 4th and 5th, Middlesea Turns 3 celebration, the best of Noel and Maria, sampling Elton John, Billy Joel, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, and more. On November 10th, The Bone Shakers, featuring Randy Jacobs and Jenny Langer, soulful blues rock. On November 11th and 12th, An Evening with Najee, multi-platinum and Grammy-nominated saxophonist and flautist. And November 17th, Middlesea Jazz and Jazz and Soul Music presents Kim Waters. And if you're in need of a new instrument or accessories, head over to Midwood Guitar Studio, Charlotte, North Carolina's own boutique guitar shop located in Plaza Midwood. Midwood Guitar Studio not only has the finest selection of boutique guitars, but familiar names like Fender, Martin, Taylor, Two Rock, and many others. Whether it's a guitar, bass, amp, effects pedal, or a much-needed accessory, the knowledgeable and friendly staff at Midwood Guitar Studio will help guide you in the right direction for your next purchase. And for all your guitar repair needs, Midwood Guitar Studio now has a luthier on staff. Visit their website at midwoodguitarstudio.com or stop in to see their unique shop at 1517 Central Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina. And please welcome our newest sponsor, Bandzoogle, built by musicians for musicians. Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to build a stunning website and EPK for your music. All the features you need for a professional website are already built in, which include dozens of fully customizable templates, tools to sell your music and merch commission-free, mailing list tools to grow your fan list and send newsletters, commission-free crowdfunding and fan subscription features, integrations for Bandcamp, SoundCloud, YouTube, Bands in Town, and more, so you can easily add content from your other online profiles. And there's live support from the musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes hosting and your own free custom domain name. Queen City Music Podcast listeners can go to bandzoogle.com and try it for free for 30 days and use the promo code QCMP to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code QCMP. This month on episode 62 of the QCMP, I'm speaking with singer-songwriter Jennifer Givens, whose soulful voice draws you into her music. Jennifer's original music spans multiple genres, which makes her music marketable to other recording artists as well as for soundtracks and film. Jennifer Givens, welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast.
Hello, hello.
So Jennifer, it's so nice to have you on. We have been communicating back and forth a little bit via Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
So it's nice to meet you in person finally.
It's good to meet you too.
All right. So are you originally from the Charlotte area, Jennifer?
I am. I am born and bred from Charlotte, and I know that I am an anomaly.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
yes.
There's not many of us left, but I grew up over in what is now called Noda.
Okay.
North Davidson. That's not what we called it back then.
What was it called?
The ghetto. It was a rough area over there. And so, it's beautiful now and it's wonderful. And that's what happens with, inner cities. They're always changing. But I grew up off, I don't want to say because I might offend somebody who lives off that area. But,
some folks would say it's
no
still
longer
a rough area.
It's
not what when I first moved here, I was in 06. I don't want to say in a bad way, but it was still kind of sketchy at night. Like it got dark. If you were out at 11, finished at the bar, you still looked around.
Do you know Plaza, the intersection of Plaza and Sugar Creek?
Yes, absolutely.
That's where I grew up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so it's still kind of rough over there, but, so grew up until I was there till I was probably I was 19 when my mom finally sold the house. But man, we bugged my mom all those years growing up. We're like, Mom, sell this house. Let's go somewhere else, please. And she kept saying, this area is coming back. I just know it. No, it's not, Mom. There's bullet holes on the side of the house. No, it's coming back. Well, we sold it. She sold it. 1 year later, Matt, 1 year later, a developer comes through.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. So this house, right, is on 3 city lots. And that is unheard of in that area. So we had this really big yard. So this developer not only bought my mom's house for like $100,000.
Right.
He then builds 2 more houses on that lot. So that whole property right now is worth $1.3 million. My mom, before she passed away, she said, there went your inheritance. You made me sell that house, and so, yeah.
But you never know with what's going to happen, what areas are going to pop up.
No.
And a developer coming in like that, that's an interesting thing. I'm surprised if they even kept the house up, because sometimes they'll just go into those areas and they'll buy the house just so they can tear it down and put up a brand new house on the spot.
That's true. But this house had a lot of character to it. And they have done that to several of the homes in that area, but not to this one because of the character of the home. Different things to it that were pretty cool, so they kept it. So every now and then I ride back by it and I see it, and it's cool there. But that's where I grew up, Charlotte, and then I moved over to Concord, got married, and raised my children there.
So you never left. You stayed in North Carolina and the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I still have a house here off of Graham. It was my grandma's house.
Okay.
And so it's off of Graham and 85.
All right.
And
I'm familiar with that area.
Yeah, I still got it. I have renters in that house right now.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you something. After what happened with the house I grew up in, a developer's going to have to push me out, man, because I see high rises are coming. They're in the future for right there. I'll be the last house standing, and there'll be high rises starting all around me.
I didn't even realize that area had homes, because I thought it was a lot of industrial parks, because Nick Plez, who has NC Guitar Works, his shop's right off of Graham and 85.
This is over in Derrida.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm thinking about the wrong spot, am I?
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
It's do you know Tanglewood?
No.
Yeah, if you're from Charlotte, y'all know what Tanglewood is. Yeah, so it's over there.
All right.
And again, I do see that a developer is probably going to want to come through there sometime, but I'm not going to make that same mistake twice.
Well, I don't doubt somebody will come by and buy it, because they're building on every patch of dirt they can find in the city.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. But I grew up in Charlotte there, but my parents though. My mom is from the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay.
And so it's a funny little thing about you have an Appalachian mom in the inner city, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird the way that works, because here we are in the middle of the city, but you could see all this Appalachian influence in our home,
right,
and even outside. So, like my mom would have leather breeches strung up across our deck. Do you know what a leather bridge is?
I have no idea.
You don't know that?
No.
It's where you take, do you know what a pole bean is?
No.
So you know what a green bean is?
A regular green.
A regular green bean on the vine.
Yes.
So a pole bean is like a green bean on steroids. It's like really long.
Okay.
All right. So you take a pole bean and you dry it out in the sun. You take a needle and thread, and you thread them together and you hang them up so it looks like clothes hanging on a line. Right?
Well, what's the point?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
And then you dry them out. You let the sun dry them out. And then you rehydrate them by power boiling them. Put you some salt pork in there or something. And then they have kind of a leathery texture to them, a meaty taste to them. And they're so yummy. They're so good. But they call them leather breeches because they look like pants hanging on a line, and they're leathery looking.
Interesting.
And so they're so good. You cut you up a homegrown tomato, man, you are in business.
See, there's a whole sense of culture that I have no idea about.
Well, that's just Appalachian, kind of things that, And so here we were in the inner city.
Yeah.
And I've got my mama on the back deck. She's playing bluegrass music and got her leather breeches strung up. And I got all the city kids going, what is going on at this house? And so, even though we were city, we were country.
Okay.
And, my mother was a strong influence, in our lives with music. And, so anyway.
So what's your music background? Does it come from your mom?
It really comes from both, but my mother was probably the strongest force.
Okay.
My dad's folks, and his family are, in Southern gospel, good old Southern gospel.
Okay.
And, his sister and her husband are very, successful gospel singers, the Wards. And so, then on my mother's side, my grandfather, was from Cherokee County, and, he played bluegrass. And so before my mother was born, he was actually going to be playing for Doc Watson. Okay. He was asked to play for him. Very talented man, my grandfather was. And, but then he started having kids, as they do in the mountains, because there's not a whole lot to do but make music and
have babies.
Yeah, have babies and make moonshine. And so he started having babies and he couldn't travel. So, but my mother was playing when she was born and growing up. She went around and played bluegrass with him.
Okay.
And then as I was growing up, now I grew up in this family of all these aunts and uncles and cousins who were playing bluegrass music all around me. And it was such a strong influence in my life. And so there would be, on some weekends, we would be at my uncle's farm on a Saturday night. And there'd be a fiddle. There'd be mandolins. There'd be a dobro. My grandpa's over here on the dobro. My uncle's over here on the fiddle. It's great. And everybody's singing these old songs.
Right.
And then they would always ask me and my sister, I have a twin sister, Suzanne, and they'd always ask me and my sister to come in and do their harmony, And so we'd come in there and sing all these old songs. And then on Sunday mornings, it was church music. And so then we would go on Sundays and sing in different churches. So I had like this two different influences of music. I had bluegrass on one side, Southern gospel on the other, and the two would sort of collide. And so,
was it something that you were drawn to, the music, right away? Or was it, meaning you were drawn to it and you practiced because you wanted to get good at it? Or was it something that just kind of like, I'm in this environment, this is what I do?
I was made to do it. I didn't have a choice. Me and my sister, we came out of the womb, just singing. It's just one of those things that, I think my mom heard us one day is what she would tell you. She heard us, at a very young age, singing, and she heard my sister start to do some harmony.
Yeah.
And I want to say, and people never believe me when I say this, I want to say that we were probably 4 or 5, and my sister just naturally had that ear to be able to hear harmony.
Yeah.
And then mine came a little bit later, like 6 or 7. And then once mom heard that, she was, you guys are going to be singing. And then, of course, my dad's family, who were gospel singers, started helping us along in gospel. And so then we were on the first little TV show we did. My sister and I are 8 years old. I've got the video somewhere. I've got to put that on digital and put it on YouTube and embarrass my sister. But we were 8 years old, and we were singing then. And so, it was just, we were told to do it, man.
It was just grew up in that environment.
We grew up in that, and you just did it.
Yeah.
And then that was for church, but then on the bluegrass side, nothing was really out there with that. We didn't go anywhere with it. It was just family got together, and we had these big hoedowns and, just a bunch of music and having a good time. And me and my sister would be in the back of the house with my cousins trying to play, and we'd hear, twins, get in here into my harmony. And of course, we'd have to come in there, you know, and my sister and I started calling ourselves the doo-wops because we always had to do everybody's backup harmony. And so, it was fun. So it was just kind of this dual life with music. Saturday night, we're having a hoedown with a bunch of picking and grinning. Sundays, we're going to church and we're going to sing for the Lord, you know.
That's such an interesting dichotomy because the way I grew up, I just wanted to play guitar and I had to find somebody who taught me how to play guitar because nobody I knew really played. My grandfather played. He was a piano player, but I wasn't interested. My grandfather was a very talented musician, just totally self-taught. He'd do basic stuff and he could sing and play piano and play a little bit of guitar. And he, you know, taught me some scales and things like that when I was a kid. But other than that, when I wanted to play guitar, I had to get lessons. So it's kind of funny hearing about singing and, you know, just growing up in this whole almost petri dish of music to learn to pick it up.
Yeah, I had a lot of musical culture in my life, and I was very lucky to have it. Now, I can't tell you that I always wanted to do it.
Yeah. You just did it, though.
We were really made to, and not that my mother was like, you're going to sing. You know, it was just, she said, look, you've got something that you need to give back.
Yeah.
And she even would have us go on Sunday mornings before we would do a church service. Mm-hmm. We would go to nursing homes all around the area, Charlotte, Gastonia, anywhere. And we would sing for folks in the nursing homes. And she said, these people are lonely. They don't have anybody coming to see them. You could brighten their day. So my mom had us everywhere, not for the reason of performing. It was just to try to brighten someone's day. And so
that's beautiful, actually.
And that's what we would do. And so a lot of times my sister and I and my brother, sometimes we didn't really want to do it. But now that I'm older, I'm thankful that she made us.
Yeah.
You know, and she used to tell us one day you'll be grateful. She said, because I've given you a way to express yourself. I've given you a voice when sometimes you may not have had one otherwise. And then you also are able to maybe relate to other people and people can relate to you. And so, we were never really good at speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother always told us, she said, singing and music is a way to communicate when you cannot find the words. And, which is so true. So
she's a wise woman.
My mother was the smartest human being that I've ever known in my life. And I know a lot of people think that their parents are superheroes. And, but my mother was a superhero, man. She was the coolest thing ever.
So Jen, you growing up in this whole environment, how long did this trajectory last for? So you're singing in churches and you're doing all these things.
Yeah.
But what happens as you start to get a little older? So let's say you get into your teens, you get into your 20s, because we're about the same age now. I won't give that away. But, you know, as we get in, you know, where's your trajectory? Where does this start to take you?
Well, it was probably about 10 years ago, my sister and my brother, us as a trio, we kind of just stopped singing a lot in churches, and then we focused on our families. And then I stopped singing for a little bit, and I stopped doing anything musical for just a little bit.
So you were just
raising my children.
Kept that same thing going for like, let's just say 20 years, just singing in church and doing that. That's all you did. You didn't like go and sing in bands and, you know, do the bar circuit or anything like that?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. It was all gospel.
You know what? I would have never guessed that. Looking at your social media stuff now and all the things that you're doing, I would think that you kind of follow a lot of the same trajectories a lot of local folks. No, not at all.
My dad wouldn't. Well, I'll tell you this. We did have my uncle set up. My sister and I were 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And he set up a meeting with an executive producer of a particular company.
Okay.
And they wanted to sign my sister and I into country music. Mm-hmm. My mother said, back then, marketing was a lot different. And my mother said, well, where would my girls be singing? And he said, well, we'll have to take him to different bars and things like this. And my mother said, my babies are not going into honky tonks. That's not happening. And she said, when y'all are 18, you can make that decision for yourselves. And she walked away from it. And man, we were like, what? You know, cause then the Judds came up. We're like, what? You know, we could, you know, so.
We could have.
No, I don't know that we could have,
Yeah.
but it was just.
Well, that's just what we think, right?
Yeah, of course, in your head, we
Yeah,
all
yeah.
think we're greater than we are. And so, or most do, don't they?
Yeah.
You know?
I think so.
And so, then, we were 18 and started talking about getting married, and then in the 20s wanted to have babies, and we put that dream aside. And we just, you know, still singing in churches and sort of left all that behind. And, you know, but so that opportunity came and went, you know, but my mother made the right decision. She made the right decision. There is no doubt in my mind that she saw what, you know, probably she knew more than we did, obviously. And, there's no telling what could have happened back then, the way they, you know, at 12, 13 years old.
Sure. And the time period's different, you know, back then, and the way they treated kids and things like that. Meaning, like, you know, you hear all this time about show business kids, you know, working them like dogs and things like that, parents taking all the money. Not saying that your parents would have done that kind of thing, but I'm just saying, the different world back then.
My mother was super protective.
Yeah.
And then my dad, being from the gospel, you know, in church, he was very staunch with church. We couldn't even have rock albums in our home.
So you look at that time period back then, there's probably a lot of parents who would have just jumped at the chance to make a lot of money off their kids. I would think.
No, my mother and my parents were very much, you sing for people.
That is a wonderful way of thinking.
This is the only reason you were given this voice. You can't hear it now because it's raspy right now. But you were given this voice it's a tool to serve others and to serve God. And that's what you do with it. And then my mother would dabble in writing a song here or there, but she would even we could listen to bluegrass, but we couldn't listen to rock music, right?
Right.
And so sometimes she would take a song and rewrite it so that we could sing it in church. Everything was around church. Like she would take, it might be a popular song at the time that she had heard about, and she would rewrite the words, like that song, "When I Need You, I Just Close." You know, that song, Leo Sayer. She rewrote that whole song, and we sang it in church. When I need him, you know. So that's how everything was sectored around church. Everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So all right. So you're growing up, you're doing all this, but then you say you stopped for a while, raised a family.
Yeah.
When did you start to grow into the Jennifer Givens that I start to see on our local Facebook and putting out videos and performing and doing all the stuff that you're doing now? When did this happen?
Well, there was always a different side to me. So I had friends, you know, growing up who, I would listen to rock songs. I wasn't totally sheltered, but you know, there was always a rocker side to me or, so then as the children got older and, I had a lot of things that started to occur in my life. And, the first thing was I was going through a divorce, started going through a divorce. And then, my mother got sick and, she got sick really quick. And, she had, a baby sister, Ellen, that she kind of raised as her own. So she's like a big sister to me. And, so mom got sick, and as she was sick, my Aunt Ellen told me, she said, "I'm always going to be here for you no matter what. I'm your second mama. When your mom goes, I'm going to be here." Mom passes. Ellen died 2 weeks later.
Oh my goodness.
Just gone. And, then a divorce. And, I think the stress of all of that, I ended up getting sick myself. So my mother passed away from lupus, and I have lupus. And, so stress causes, lupus to reactivate or become exacerbated. And then I ended up with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my goodness.
And, so then in the middle of that, my dad is living with me, and I'm so glad he's still here, but, he left something on my stove and it burned my house down.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was just, man, this was all within a year and a half, and I was just done, dude. I was done.
Not to make light of it, your life for a year or so sounds like it was just a country song.
Yeah.
Like this happened, then that happened, then this happened.
I was done. And, so I started, singing a little bit. I just went back to, just trying to sing some songs just to get my mind off of things. And I wasn't singing as much anymore in churches with my siblings. And so then I found this little app, this little karaoke app online called Smule. And so I started just doing some songs for me. And my ex-husband, who I was still friendly with, he said, you should probably start recording some of these and put them on Facebook, and keep it for the children too. The children should have some of this. And so I put one or two on Facebook thinking nothing of it. And then next thing I know, people are saying, oh, do this song. Oh, do that one. Oh, do this one. And it was great. I was just shocked that anybody wanted to hear it to begin with. And, so I started doing that. And, before I knew it, I had a little bit of a following on social media. And then a friend of mine said, after all that you've been through, you are singing everybody else's stories. Where's Jennifer's story? And I was like, I can't do that, man. I can't write about this. I can't write about that. I don't even know how to. He's like, you got to. You got to write about it. And so I did. And I started writing. And before I knew it, it was just pouring out of me, man. Just pouring out. So it was just therapy for me.
So the ability, or I should say, becoming a songwriter or growing into a songwriter is just almost something that literally just happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, just hearing all this and talking to you about it, that you didn't follow a certain trajectory, that songwriting just started in the last couple of years, and then you've kind of been prolific because we've been talking about a little bit before the podcast started. You got 120 songs written in a short time.
Yeah.
You just spending time writing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's not all good.
Well, no, but I mean, you have a lot more in 2 years than most people do in a lifetime.
I don't think it's about quantity though.
But the more you do it, the better you get at it.
You hone your skill in anything that you do. I was talking to a producer friend of mine not too long ago, and then he was like, I need you to write a song. Can you have it done in a couple of days? He said something and I went, what you talking about? I just wrote a song just while you said that sentence. I mean, we can always write something. I can write something really quick.
Yeah.
But it might not be that good.
Right.
And so, I don't put a whole lot of stock into how many songs someone has written. Right. Because I might write 100, but only have 2 that are even anywhere decent. But I do believe that you do hone your skill. But if you are not willing to take criticism from others, I could spend a week writing 50 songs.
Yeah.
And I might be going down the wrong line. I might be going down the wrong road, the wrong direction. So you've got to be able to give it to the right people or people that you trust their opinion. Get that feedback. Make sure that you're in the right direction before you spend a year writing 100 songs that might not be, you might have some areas of opportunity that you've ignored or you've missed.
Of your own? We're not talking about writing for somebody else. We're just talking about strictly writing your own stuff.
Writing my own stuff. So let's say but I mean, if I want to write, if I'm still writing for me, I still want it to be good.
Right.
But I just want to make sure, is this even a decent song? And so, even for me,
So what's the songwriting process like for you? So when you start, how do you start writing your tunes?
It depends on if If I'm just writing for myself, then it's a totally different process than if I'm writing for someone else.
Which we'll talk about later, writing for other people. But
if I'm writing for me, then it's just sitting at a piano, and I just start humming. I might pick out a few notes on the piano and start singing, even if it doesn't rhyme, makes no sense. It's just how I feel. And I'll play the chords for that, that go with, like if I'm in C chord, I might go to F, I might go to G, and just sing what's on my heart. And then it might turn into a song, it may not. And then I'll start to write out on a sheet of paper or in a notepad in my phone my thoughts. And again, there may be no rhyme or reason. It may just be fragments of thoughts. And then I will start to develop a song around that, just naturally.
So how often when you're writing, first off, I guess, how often do you write? Do you do it every day? Do you only do it when the mood strikes you?
Well, generally every day there is parts of a song that are written. So like on the way here, I was at the beach this morning, cause I stay there too. So on the way here, I'm sitting here and I have a thought in my head and I pull up my phone and the recorder and I'm singing a little bit in my recorder, part of my phone, a hook of a song.
Right.
And then, so every day there's always something like that that's occurring.
So it just, something just comes up to you.
Comes into my head.
It's not that you're a work woman about it where you go, okay, I'm going into the room today.
No.
I'm going to sit down and I'm going to just fiddle around and see what I can come up with.
No.
Okay.
No. So I know other people may do that.
Yeah.
But I generally just, a hook will come to me and I will record that hook in my phone.
Yeah.
And then I will think of it, bring it up later, maybe the next day. Think about that hook a little bit,
So how many pieces do you have of songs? Like
I've
got lyrics and I've got, a little melody here that I've recorded. Is it a lot?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. And the note app in your phone?
Yes.
Oh, I think I've had to buy like the extended version of that or something. It's crazy. It's really crazy. I've got a lot of poems in there.
Yeah.
I've got fragments. I've got little phrases.
Do you back this up?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Because I'd lose it if, and as terrible as I am.
I had
on
that
phones.
happen once with, voice recorder stuff and stuff. I had recorded little guitar stuff here and there. Not tons of stuff, but just little stuff here and there. And then I got a new phone and I completely forgot to download some stuff. And it was just lost, and I was just like, oh man, later I was like, oh man, I forgot I had all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
You don't think about it. I think most people, they don't realize when somebody writes a song, what actually goes into it. That sometimes somebody might sit down and the song will come to them in 15 minutes and that's the song. Other times they might not realize that they wrote a piece 3 years ago and then they came up with another piece and they stuck that together and that's what this is. And then other pieces from other songs fit together to make the one complete song. It always reminds me, there's a movie, I believe it's called Comedian. I don't know if you've ever seen it. That's with Jerry Seinfeld. And they talk to these different comedians and they have files. Some of these guys have file cabinets full of jokes that they've saved for years and they've, bits they've been working on to do. And it's just, you go to see somebody perform, you don't think about all the back time, that went into that. You just see the final product, or in music's case, you hear the final song or the final tune. Yeah. And it's always amazing to me how long it takes to get to that final product.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I do have that, I guess, in the note app and in a journal that I keep. I've got so many lyrics to different things or poems or, that I've written.
Yeah.
And, so it could be that a tune just comes to me and I'm able to pull from, those files and say, hey, maybe this could fit in there, How
often do you go back and look at the old stuff to see what would work with something?
Not too often.
Yeah.
Because I like to move on once I write something, it's usually how I'm feeling at that moment.
Right.
And then I get it out of me, and then I tend to want to move on. But if I'm writing a song and I'm stuck, if I've got a tune in my head, but I can't find the words and I'm frustrated, then that's when I'll go back and look. That's if I'm writing for someone, or if, writing for a project. Then I'll go back and look at the older stuff and see, do I have something that'll fit? But I don't tend to do that for myself a lot, because the things that I write for myself are very much in the moment. They're where I'm at. That's where I'm at in life at that time. And I don't go back and look at any of the old stuff, because it's where I'm at in life right now.
So when you're writing, being primarily a vocalist, what instruments do you use? You were saying you plunk out some things on the piano. Are you a pretty decent pianist that you can play the chord changes? Or
no.
Growing up in your background, do you play some mandolin, some violin, guitar? What? How do you work on the harmony of the songs?
Well, I play just enough to be dangerous. So if you ever go back and look at the videos of me playing guitar, you'll know what I'm talking about. But piano is probably my primary instrument, other than my voice is an instrument. But, piano. I'm not that good on anything. It's just enough to be able, to get through a song.
Yeah.
But the harmonies of a song, I just hear them,
So how do you, okay, well, I guess the next question is, how do you communicate that? Because when you're doing it, right, you've got some basic stuff down. Do you have other people that you're bringing in to help complete the parts?
No.
Okay.
I do all of that.
So you have a home studio of recording.
Yeah.
All right. So you're writing a tune.
Yeah.
And you just come up with the basic stuff. But when you go to set it down and record the song, you have other people that you work with playing with other instruments.
Oh, I thought you meant the harmony. You said harmony. I'm thinking of vocals.
No. I'm thinking about harmany with the chord changes.
Go back
and
and ask that question. You can edit all that out.
No, not going to keep it the way it is. I like to roll. I'm trying to keep things down to editing down to a minimum.
Sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I farm out the demos.
Yeah.
I will play the really bad demo at home. And it's really bad.
Yeah.
And I will play the keys, the bass, the drums on my keyboard, and everything. And then I will send the demo to musicians.
Okay.
And say, look, put your spin on it. This is just a concept. I apologize profusely for the quality, and just do what you want to do. And then they'll send me back what they got,
Right.
And it's either it matches my vision of it, or it doesn't.
Right.
It kind of depends. We have a conversation about it, but I generally let people try to do what they feel on it.
So what was that step for you? You're writing your own stuff for yourself. Like you said, your friend said, you're singing other people's stories. You start writing your own story. When did you start saying, I got to start recording some of this and start putting this out?
It was with Jim Brock.
Uh-huh.
He was a huge mentor and still is for me. He said, this is, he was the first person I sent, the first song I wrote, sent it to him. He's like, you got to get that recorded.
Yeah.
And so I did. And then we ended up migrating over to Boo English.
Okay.
And I recorded some more stuff in his studio, so that way Boo could add more instruments and things to it there.
Yeah.
And so that's when I first started. If
you're curious, just if you're listening and you're curious about Jim Brock and who he is, you can go check out episode 55 of the Queen City Music Podcast, because Jim was on and told his story.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so you're bringing in, you just decided you're going to start putting this out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
how did you know Jim and all these other folks to get there?
Facebook.
Did you just start reaching out to people?
Yeah. Jim and I met on Facebook, and we decided we were going to meet at Smokey Joe's.
Yeah.
And so we met at Smokey's, and he comes in, and And it was immediate. We had this connection. And I don't know if it's because he's Native American too, and I'm Native American. And we had an instant connection. I knew that we were going to be great friends. And so that's, where it started. And then Jim ended up introducing me to a lot of people in the industry and just sort of took me under his wing and said, listen to what this girl's got. Let's make something happen here.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. He's been a great friend to me.
Has he, you may or may not know this, does he do that often with a lot of folks, or is he very selective about who he takes under his wing to help, and help him out? Because I didn't even know that side of him when I spoke to him.
Well, Jim's so busy.
Yeah.
That, I don't know that, I don't know who else he mentors, but,
yeah.
I know he certainly did me. I know I think one of the wonderful. Lucky ones. So, he's been very instrumental. Yeah.
So you start this process and you start recording and you start meeting all these other musicians and you're putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
At what point does it start to take off more than you thought?
So it was, I got a call from a producer, and he said he heard me on Facebook, and it was one of my original songs. And there was an artist who was trying to make a comeback, and she had not had anything that had charted in about 10 to 12 years. And so he said, I want to get one of your songs to her and see if she wants it. And so I did. And
so wait, let me stop and backtrack a little bit. Just out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
You just get this person.
Out of the blue.
This producer, and it's just like, hey, I just heard your stuff and I like this and I need a song.
Well, he got in touch with the producer. I know. Then my producer got in touch with me. Yeah. Hey, this guy heard you. Producer heard you. They want you to, this song, they want a song for her. Yes.
That's crazy to me.
Is it really that crazy?
I think so. Just because to think that someone is going on Facebook.
Yeah.
And just comes across somebody's music. You would think people in the industry, they already have, certain songwriters that they go to and things like that. And then all of a sudden out of the blue, they're like, and no offense intended, here's this songwriter that I've never heard of. And I found one of her songs and I'm like, I like this. I need something.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they knew each other before. I don't know. I just know that it happened.
Yeah.
And it was, we didn't farm it out to anybody. But so my friend got in touch with me and said, this person wants one of your songs.
I just think it's amazing. That maybe it shouldn't be to me that amazing. Given.
I don't know. Well, I'm naive. I came out of the gospel world. I thought this was a normal thing. I don't know.
No, I just think, I guess that shows the power of the internet these days because you as an independent artist can put something out and now you have, worldwide reach. Whereas 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that wasn't the case for musicians. You put out a song, boom, you're on Spotify, everybody can hear it. Somebody comes across you on the internet or Facebook because they have a friend or they have a friend, and then this pops up and you're like, man, it's just, it's really incredible.
I'm just having fun. That's all I know. And if somebody likes it and they contact me and they want it in an indie film or they want it on their, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm seriously, I'm being altruistic. I'm just having fun. There is no way at my age, and I'm almost 52 years old. I'm too old to be on stage and doing, touring around. That time is come and gone for me.
Right.
And so it's either if I'm going to do anything with music, it's going to be in songwriting, or it's just going to be something I do at home just for me. And so that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just doing this for me, and every now and then somebody wants a song for something, and I'll write them a song, and it's, to me, that's, it's just for, therapy for me.
I think it's amazing.
I'm not going into this with the idea that I'm going to have this career in music.
Right.
So I don't have really high expectations, so I don't get disappointed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think with age comes a little bit of perspective for that. Like, you're doing it because you love it and you're enjoying it, which is really a wonderful way to approach music, as opposed to, I need to put this out, and if I don't make it by the time I'm 25 and have world domination, then I'm not going to do music. Like, it's such a poor way of thinking at it, as opposed to like, I really love music and I just want to be involved and do it. And then I think if you go at it in that direction, you are going to be successful, rather than like, it's a purely monetary way of thinking from the time you start doing it. Like, I need to do this, and then I need to do this because I need to have my name on a billboard with my face and be on commercials and have everybody know who I am.
No.
You do?
Music is my escape.
Yeah.
It will never, ever be my main source of income, because to me, it's almost like it murders the escape for me. It's no longer an escape. Right. It is now, I have to do this. Now, I'm not saying I don't get commissioned to write a song.
Right.
But at the root of it, it is, I'm doing this for enjoyment and for therapy for me. I don't want that pressure, that stress, because I think you can hear that when if I were to write a song or get told you got to write this song in 1 week, you're going to hear that constraint in the song. It may not flow from me as freely,
right,
as if, you know, I were just able to do it in my own time and in my own sequence. So, I know there are people that, and I commend people who do music for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And they love it so much, and I've never been able to make that jump.
See, I'm almost, in a sense, the complete opposite. Like, I knew when I was growing up, music was kind of the only thing I wanted to do. And I spent my entire quote unquote career of my life figuring out how I'm going to make a living doing this, you know, and everything I did just added more experiences to build up to where I am. And as we discussed before, the world, people may not realize it, but the world of music is just like a lot of other areas of professionalism, where there are different levels to it. Like, you go out to a bar, you'll see everyday local musicians performing. Mm-hmm. Those guys are working musicians every day.
Yeah.
Then maybe you have the next level, and you have regional touring musicians who are out, or people playing in orchestra pits, or playing in professional orchestras. And you have people who are out performing with those artists who are touring nationally, or around the world, however they do it. And then, of course, you have the people on the top who are making tons and tons of money, who are the stars, like a Bruce Springsteen or the guys in the Rolling Stones. People don't realize there's different levels to what people do in that industry, just like acting. Sure. Not everybody's Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie, big stars. There's a lot of actors you just see on TV commercials every day. They're actors.
Right.
You know?
And I, you know, I've always, Jim told me one time, I said, well, we were talking about me becoming a full-time musician at one point. And I said, I've always got to have a plan B, though. I need a plan B just in case plan A doesn't work.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if you have a plan B, you'll always fall back on it.
Yeah.
And I do. And so I just can't, I'm super proud of my friends who are successful at doing it. And in my own right, I'm successful in music and in the other shadows. But I just I'm afraid. I'm really scared.
Of what? Being successful in it?
No.
It not working?
No. Of resenting it. If I have to do it to eat, I might resent it. You know, because when I was younger, I was 18 in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell it from this husky, abused voice, but I was a soprano. Mm-hmm. And I auditioned for Brevard, and I got a scholarship to Brevard. And I wouldn't do it. And my mom said, why are you not doing this? I said, because I don't want to do music for a living. What am I going to do with a music degree, Mom? I'm going to teach music. And then I'm going to hate my life, because music I just don't want to do it for a living.
Right.
And so I didn't. And it's the same concept now. I I think that people who do it for a living they're so brave and they believe so much in what they're doing. And it's not that I don't believe in what I do. It's just maybe there is some self-doubt, but I think a lot of it is I just don't want to kill the desire of the want to do it. I don't want to have to do it. And it could be that I was made to do it all my life for so long that I don't want to have to do it now.
Right.
You know?
Well, everybody finds their own way and what works for them. I mean, I am a teacher, so I love doing it. I mean, I love working with my kids. I love even teaching lessons that I do on the side because I like when I teach somebody how to do something, and I love seeing that proverbial light bulb go off and their smile come on that they got, oh my God, oh my goodness, I've got this. Well, this is amazing. But not everybody's built for that.
No, I'm not.
Because that doesn't happen every single lesson. And sometimes you have to talk to kids and you have to work like this and the other people you work with. Not everybody's built for certain different things in their field. And some people are like you, where they're like, I don't want to do this every day. I want to do it when it's works for me.
Yes.
That's just fine.
I need control over it.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of my own little world.
Yeah.
When I'm writing a song, I'm, alone. I'm in a dark room where I can think and it's just me and my thoughts. And, I don't always even want to perform out. Like I don't even gig a whole lot right now. I don't mind singing and I love to sing for people, but my heart is in songwriting.
And that is an interesting thing because not every musician does everything. Do you know what I mean? Like you like performing, but you want to kind of do this. This is just one aspect of the songwriting thing that you've chosen to focus on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't perform at all, but I chose to do this. I didn't choose to teach. But I like this. I like songwriting. That's what I really want to put my energy into. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's very therapeutic.
So speaking of songwriting, you've been writing for other people.
Yeah.
First off, I'm just curious because I want to mine that for a bit. How does that come about? So you had the one person who contacted you via Facebook about stuff. And then does word just get out? Do you have people just contacting you regularly? Do you have somebody who pitches your stuff out to other musicians or other artists or other producers?
So I got another Facebook message from he knew someone who wrote a movie screenplay. And so they contacted me and said, we need a song, a theme song for this indie film. Do you have one? Of course, I was like,
could you be more specific?
Who are you?
Yeah.
And what are you? And so I did a little research and it was legit. And so, they told me what the film was about. And so I said, I got something that'll fit for that. And I gave them a song I wrote called Chains. And so it was used in the film. I mean, everything's just kind of through social media.
Yeah.
They find me on social media. Or they know this producer that I work with. They know him, Derek Christopher, with Power Out Studios. He is a phenomenal producer, and he's gotten me in touch with a lot of people as well. Like, just through networking, he'll tell them, hey, I got this songwriter. She's a pretty decent songwriter. I could use her on something. But a lot of times people just reach out to me on social media. Seriously, they send me a messenger.
So how does that work? Was there a little trial by fire for you learning about the monetary aspects of that? Like with your, like I know when I put out my first EP, it was, I've got to learn how to do the copyright. I've got to learn about this and I've got to get this done and I've got to get this squared away and paperwork for all the musicians. How does that?
So a lot of people have asked me that question, especially about copywriting.
Yeah.
So again, Jim Brock was the one that schooled me on that. And, I wished I had listened to him sooner. So he told me that you need to get on BMI, ASCAP, something like that. He said, but don't just copyright me. Start your own publishing. Set that up. And so that way you get the 100% as the publisher, 100% as the artist. That's 200%. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. I started Jennifer McKee Publishing because McKee was my name before the divorce. Mm-hmm. And So, I set that up, and, that way all of the royalties, anything, will go through that. So, now the first time I sold a song, I kind of, I hurt myself because I was not, educated, and I thought I knew everything, and I thought I could handle this myself.
Yeah.
And I think I just was a little bit starstruck too, that I was so quick to pull the trigger that I, kind of screwed myself, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
What
happened?
I just sold it outright and took my name off of it. And so it's okay. It's, live and learn.
Yeah.
So it was an artist, I think I'd mentioned a minute ago, the one that, was, she hadn't had anything out in a while.
Yeah.
And so she was like, her producer said, I need something. And, I think they bought like 50 songs, the rights to 50 songs, but only like so many will make the album. So she bought the rights to mine, and, I could have done royalties. I could have done all that. And I didn't do that.
Oh.
I just sold it as a ghostwriter out, just wrote a check.
Almost like a session musician.
Yeah. Yes.
You wrote the song. Here's the money for the song. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Well, but there's a good and a bad to this story.
Okay.
So the good is that she never used it. Okay. The bad is that she never used it. So it's good. So I learned from that, and I called, some buddies of mine.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I did the wrong thing here, because I've got somebody else fishing for a song, and I want to make sure I handle this right. And so, Jim put me in touch with, Don Dixon, and, another producer that he knew. And he schooled me and said, this is what you need to do. Well, this song that I was wanting to sell was in the gospel industry. And let me tell you, there is a lot more money in songwriting in the gospel arena. For me, I'm sure other songwriters would agree, because there's different sync licenses that exist. And so, for gospel music, they don't just sing those in church. They have those projectors, right? Mm-hmm. That put the lyrics up of your song so that in praise and worship, the whole crowd can sing.
Right.
That's a sync license.
Wow.
Now, the one that I did for the indie film, that's a different sync license, things like that. So, I learned a lot about sync licenses. So just to sell a song to play on the radio, that's one thing.
Right.
But now every time it is used on any kind of different platform, whether it's a projector, film, that's all different sync licenses, and that's a different royalty. Those are all royalty streams. So I learned that. Yeah.
There's a lot to it. This is the one thing about being a musician in today's age, or this time of being alive. Being an independent musician, there's just so much and so many hats that you wear to do all this. Otherwise, you won't make any money doing it. I'm not saying you're out for money, but I mean, you want on some level, no matter what you do, songwriting, performing, whatever, you want to get paid, for your work, as it should be.
Yeah. And I mean, and I have, I've made some money doing it.
Right.
But it's, to me, it's more of it's a blessing.
Yeah.
It wasn't expected.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I put a lot of money into it too. So
into what?
Music.
Yeah.
I put
of course you do.
Yeah. And so, when I think of like songs that I've sold or what I've made, I probably could even. I might even still be in the hole. I might even be I don't even keep up with it, man. I don't even keep up with it because it's just, with what I spend, because it's just, I try to spread it out a little bit so that I know I'm not spending a whole lot of money, but,
well, most musicians, what's the old, you've seen the memes, musician is somebody who brings $20,000 a year to a $200 gig. I mean, we amass these things and time to do what we love to do.
Not just the money, but the time.
Yeah.
The effort that I've put, years.
Years.
Well, for me, it's just, gospel music, I was in that for years, but only this, I've only been in it for a couple of years. But,
and there's a learning curve, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's hurt, music is, just songwriting and doing this it's a huge expense. It sucks your time, but there's so much more that I get out of it.
Yeah.
Than how much I've, that's what I'm saying. It's like a hobby. Yeah. I don't really track so much how much I'm spending or how much time. I just do it. And if I need, if there's a piece of equipment I need and if I didn't have the money for it, I'll save for it, get it. And then I know a lot of people track how much they're spending on stuff and how much I don't even do that.
Well, you should, because it's a tax write-off. If you're making any kind of income from music,
I know.
It's a tax write-off. I mean, I know I've got a spreadsheet of stuff, and I am religious about everything that I can write off and spend. I mean, it's just, you got to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just part of it, All right, so Jennifer, I've been checking out your stuff, and I'm looking at your website. You've got a lot of singles released. Mm-hmm. Have you released any albums or EPs or anything like that?
Yeah. So, we've got an album that is finally completed, a full body of work that will be out soon.
So this would be the first full album?
The first full body of work, the first album.
Everything else to this point has been singles?
Correct.
All right. Just out of curiosity, you're looking at what's going on today in music. What makes you want to put out a full-length album as opposed to an EP or singles? Why is it? Why the full album?
Well, we talked about that. When I say we, it was me, and the producer that worked on it.
Okay. Who was the producer?
Jeff Fielder in Seattle. We talked about it, but so I went to a studio to record a few songs. I flew over to Seattle, and I would play one song on the guitar and say, "This is what I got," and then he'd say, "Let's record it," and then it would be another one. And before we knew it, he's like, "Well, this is a full album. Let's just go ahead and do the full," So we did it. It turned into a full album.
Wow.
So,
was this stuff you brought into him, or did you have bits of everything, or did you write everything while you were in Seattle?
I already had the songs written.
Okay.
So I just played them for him while I was there on a guitar.
Okay.
And so it literally was just like me holding a guitar and starting to play the song. And Jeff has this gift of being able to hear it, and he just knew exactly where I was going with it. And he might only hear part of a verse.
Yeah.
He goes and picks up his guitar and just starts recording, starts creating something with it. And then he'll stop and say, "All right, where's the chorus?" And I'll sing the chorus for him. Yeah. And then, and then we've got this skeleton demo that he works off of.
Okay.
And so then when we're done with that, he's, "What else you got?" And then we just move on to the next one. And so it was a lot of fun. We were producing and creating, some of the instrumentation as we went along in the studio.
Are there, did you record it? You recorded it all in Seattle?
Most of it. Some of the vocals I did at home.
Okay.
And, so, and I would just do them later or, and then there were a couple though that I did just do a demo with just me on a guitar. I mean, it literally was just that.
Right.
That I sent him beforehand that he might have had a little idea of.
Yeah.
But mainly most of it was just us in the studio sitting there in Seattle and him just hearing me play a little bit. Huh. And he just took off with it, and I did most of the vocals there.
Pretty neat. Who were some of the musicians playing on the recording? Were there any Charlotte folks that you sent demos to, or were they folks from out in Seattle?
So this album is all in Seattle.
Okay.
There were other singles though that Charlotte folks have worked on, like Jason Atkins.
Mm-hmm. Guriza Keys.
Yes.
Yes, he was on the podcast.
So talented. He played keys on a song called Better Days.
Okay.
Anna Stottleman, who plays bass. Oh, she's phenomenal. She played bass on another single called Come Over. And Jim Brock has played percussion and drums on several things. So and I'm also now talking to a couple of Charlotte musicians about some some singles from demos that I've got to get to some artists soon.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
I always like to use homegrown folks,
Yeah.
I want to use people from here.
There's a lot of talent in the city.
You're not kidding,
really
man.
is.
You're not kidding. This album just happened, and it just happened so fast in Seattle that, but on this album, it's Jeff Fielder. He's playing about every stringed instrument on it. Dobro, mandolin, guitars, bass, and then, Daniel Walker plays keys and organ on some other things. Then Michael Musburger plays drums, Jim's on percussion on some things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, Jeff's wife, Tekla, who is an unbelievable songwriter and singer as well. She does some backup vocals on it with me. We both are, doing some things on it.
Well, can we take a listen to one of the tracks?
Sure.
All right. Do you have a title for the album yet?
Yeah, it's called Play Me Down.
Play Me Down.
There is a song on the album called Play Me Down.
Okay.
But which song are you going to play first?
I think we'll listen to The Other Side.
The Other Side?
Yeah.
Do you want any history behind it first, or do you want to hear it first?
Let's talk about it afterwards.
Let's do it.
All right. So this is The Other Side by Jennifer Givens off the album Play Me Down.
And carry me slow. Tell me I'm where I belong. Lend me your strength and give me your hope. My soul. I'm on the other side. I'm not alone. Here on the other side, I am home. And mend all my scars. Shelter me safe in your arms.
Jen, great track. So I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
It's got this country yet not country vibe to it. And I don't want to call it Americana.
Right.
How do you define it?
I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out too. So I've got a promoter by the name of Raymond Hell with hellpromo.com.
Okay.
And we were just talking about that the other day. It's like, well, are we going to put it in country? What's it going to be in? He said, we'll just release it in several different genres, and then we'll see which listeners listen to it the most.
Yeah. It almost seems, to be quite honest with you, it's going to fit perfectly in the rock genre because it's got that country yet gospel type of vibe to it. But
yeah,
it also, and that's why I like the rock category because rock kind of can be anything you want it to be. But that's just me.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're going to release it in digital and on FM and then see which genre who plays it the most, and then sector it into that.
So when you say release it in digital, can you explain to our listeners what that might mean?
Digital is where it's released worldwide across different digital platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
FM is the radio as we know it.
Okay.
So we may release it in Charlotte. You may hear it at Myrtle Beach. So, and then we'll, just see if it takes off.
Okay. Can you fill us in on about the tune?
So the other side was written from a dream that I had. And it was a couple years ago. I dreamed that I got an opportunity to go see my mother in heaven. And it's an exchange. If you listen to the words, it's kind of an exchange between me and my mom. And, where I'm asking her to give me her strength. And then she tells me, whisper my name when morning comes, and I'm where I belong. And just remember me, and I'm on the other side. I'm not alone here. And so the words didn't come to me like that in the dream, but it was the sort of the gist of it. And so the next day I wrote the song for it. And then I incorporated a little bit of our heritage in it with the Native American chanting at the end. And that's Jim Brock who's chanting with me at the end.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Did you send the tune over to Jim and he just added it, or did you guys wind up doing it together?
He added it later.
That's great.
But the funny thing is about the chanting, I was in the studio in Seattle, recording it, and we thought we were done with it. And I said, Jeff, I kind of want to add something to the end of it. And I was really scared about doing the chanting. I didn't know if Jeff would be like, what in the heck is she doing? And I said, just trust me. Just let the music play out. I just want to do something at the end. So he has his back turned to me at his computer station. And so at the very tail end of the song, I start chanting in Native American, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. And Jeff turns around real slow and he looks at me like, what in the hell just came out of you? And so I was looking at him like, oh God, should I stop? And he said, that was great, and I said, okay, we'll keep it. But I wasn't sure about it,
Yeah.
And so I said, well, just, we'll keep it. But I still wasn't. Sometimes I doubt the things that I put into songs. I doubt my own ability to produce or to create, And so it ended up fitting, and he loved it. And so I thought, well, let's put I want a man chanting under me. And we tried to get my dad to do it. But my dad, just couldn't seem to find it. And so the next best person, Jim Brock, because Jim's like a fatherly figure to me in a lot of ways. Even though he's not that much older, but I mean, he's he's a prominent figure in my life. And so I said, Jim, can you please do that? And so he did it. And of course he nailed it, and it was great. So that's that song. So
how many songs do you have on the album?
8.
8. Is there a running theme through the whole album?
No, there's 9. I had to think about this for a second. There's 9 because we added one at the last minute. There's 8 new songs.
Okay.
But the 9th, there's the reason I had to catch it was because one of the songs that we added to it was actually released as a single previously. Okay. So we added it into this album.
Is there a running theme or because, when you listen to an album, they all seem to fit together. I don't know if it's because they get written in the same time period or how that works. Yeah. But songs seem to fit together. Is there something that happened that made you want to have all these songs in this collection?
Yeah, they're all very raw as far as they deal with a lot of dating, relationships. They deal with loss. They all have a very strong emotional string to them. So this is probably the most raw invasive songs I've ever written.
Okay.
And so we struggled with what to call the album because of, how they're all structured. And so it was Jeff who told me, he said, play me down. That's, basically what,
right.
We'll just call it that. He said, I like it. And so the theme in all of them is really dealing with human emotion. And I know that's still kind of vague, but a lot is around relationships, failed relationships, attempts at relationships, and loss, and just really emotional stuff. Some of it's kind of heavy.
I've never heard that term before. Is that something I'm missing? Play me down? I've never.
It's a play on words. No, I just came up with it. It
okay.
was, instead of lay me down.
Okay.
So the song that it's based on is it's about playing a guitar man playing for me, and it's a lullaby, put me to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So play the guitar, play me down.
Oh.
So it's based on a lullaby. It's just a play on words.
Okay.
So
can we listen to another track off of it?
Sure.
I'd like to hear Whiskey, Rum, and Rye.
That's a really invasive one. We're talking. That's it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's listen to Whiskey, Rum, and Rye by Jennifer Givens off the Play Me Down album.
There's a light on my front porch that stays on all those lonely nights, wondering if you're coming home. 'Cause she comes calling, and you believe her every time. All her pretty lies she whispers in the night. I'll never be as sweet as your whiskey, rum, and rye. She can't hold you when you're scared and alone. She won't dry your tears and give you hope.
Jennifer, another fantastic track off this album.
Thank you.
Again, it's got that country flair to it, and I think if out of anything, although the songs might have an underlying theme to them, all of them, they've got a certain flavor that ties everything together.
Yeah, I do try to write in a way, or the music in a way that can cross different genres.
Mm-hmm.
But that Southern gospel influence and bluegrass, that influence all of my life tends to stand out a little bit more. So you might hear a little bit more of a country influence from that. But especially on Whiskey, Rum and Rye. And if you're singing about whiskey, it's probably going to have to be a country song. And I knew what this song was going to be about before I wrote it, because this was one of those songs that was, all right, this is how I'm feeling right now. Let me get my guitar and just start getting this out of me. And it ended up being a country song, and because I wanted it to be a country song, because it's going to be a crying in my beer kind of song. And I cried all through writing this one. And it's still even hard for me to sing it. It's hard for me to even talk about it.
It's very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah, it got a lot out of me, and it helped me deal with the loss of a relationship that was very painful. So, a lot of people have to deal with infidelity or the other woman or the other man. For me, the other woman was a whiskey bottle and everything that came along with that. So I just couldn't compete, man.
Well, I'd say one thing. It is wonderful that not only you, but a lot of musicians have music and are able to put their emotion into that music to get it out. Because sometimes that's the kind of thing that can eat you up from the inside if you don't have an outlet for it to release. Yeah,
and I had a male singer, a country singer, who wanted that song. And he wanted me to rewrite some of the words, the lyrics for him to be able to fit. And I would say, I was just telling my buddy Jason Hilliard the other day, I said, any song I've got, I will rewrite for anybody for the right amount, right? Not that one. I told him I can't do it.
Too personal?
It's way too personal. And so it's just one of those that will stay with me. And,
is that one you would sell?
I don't know.
Let somebody else use it, or are you just like, out of all my songs, that's the one that's kind of off limits. That's just for me.
That one might be just for me. And it's not that, people might say that the one I wrote about my mom should be the one and it's not that it's more special. It's just that song taught me a great deal about who I am and what I will and will not allow in my life going forward. So it was not only therapeutic, but it was a lesson for me.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know if I'd ever let go of that one.
Right.
So we'll see. Of course, money talks. So I don't know.
So can we change gears a little bit, Jen?
Yeah.
All right. So let's hit some performing. And I know your love and your heart is in songwriting.
Yeah.
But you're performing, and I'm looking around at your performance schedule, and you don't play much in Charlotte. Yeah. You're actually out at Myrtle Beach and stuff. Why are you out and not in town?
I have a house at Ocean Isle.
Oh,
and
okay.
I try to stay there as much as possible. And so,
I would.
yeah, it's great. Except that hurricane, man, that was not any fun. But I play. There's a band that I played with there called Therapy, and we haven't played in a year together because I left them to focus on songwriting.
Right.
And but we got to play again last night. We reunited just for one show last night, and that was really cool. But other than that, I do some one-off acoustic stuff with Stephen Green.
Yeah.
From Charlotte, and he'll come to the beach even and do an acoustic gig with me.
Sweet.
And I really like doing acoustic. It's more intimate.
It is.
And, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
To gig much anymore because the time that I do have to focus on music, I've really got to get busy writing or cutting a demo.
Right.
Because you've always got to keep moving forward with songwriting. You can't stop. You got to keep going. And, and, especially with me, I've got so much in me that's still got to come out. And so there's nothing I love more. I would rather spend my evening sitting in front of my keyboard, creating something new.
Right.
Than to be out somewhere singing covers.
Right. And that's okay.
That's
okay.
I love to hear covers. I love to sing covers too. And I did that last night.
Yeah.
But I like to create.
And everybody's built differently. I mean, I like creating. I'm just so busy performing now that like it's become, I don't want to sound awful, but it's a monetary thing for me where I know, this extra money that I make on the weekends has helped me a great deal, in the last couple of years. I mean, I did put out the EP, but I would like to get more of it. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've been writing that I need to get back to, and I just have to carve out that time.
And if I did it for a living, I don't know that I would have the energy to do it even for fun on the side. If I spent my time gigging 4 or 5 days a week, I might be so burned out that there would be nothing left creative in me.
Yeah.
To be able to focus on songwriting. So I like that I do my day job. Mm-hmm. And then when I need to escape the stresses of that day job,
you do the music.
Then I can come in, then the creative juices start flowing.
That's why I do a lot of different things. Like I've got my job during the day as a teacher, performing in the evening, doing the podcast, and even blogging and writing. Like it's a whole little collection of other stuff that I do.
Sure.
So it's not just one thing. Because I did learn a long time ago, a couple of years ago, I played a whole crazy amount of gigs that for me anyway. I think I played about 115 gigs that year.
Oh my Lord.
And there's people who play more than that and there's people who play less, but that was a lot. And I tell you what, I didn't like it. Like I did not want to play 4 or 5 nights a week. Maybe twice, maybe 3. That's good enough for me. Otherwise it becomes like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I pick up my gear, put it up, set up, break down, sing songs, set up, break down, sing, I mean.
I love it too much to choke it out like that, man.
Yeah.
I try to take care of what that it is my hobby and my escape. And if I did it all of the time, then it's no longer something that I escape to.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, everybody's different. And the one thing I did learn is that doing that much, I would never be a touring musician. I do not like being out on the road. I am a homebody.
Yeah.
Like, I like being home in my house, cooking my food, sleeping in my bed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be playing every night. Sometimes I just want to go home and watch television, you know, or I just want to sit on the couch, sit out by the fire, you know, with a little fire outside. Yeah. I'm good.
The funny thing is, even in my bed, like being a homebody, there's in my bed beside me that sleeps beside me is a guitar. My guitar lays beside me every night. So like it might be 2:00 in the morning. I'll wake up. I can't sleep. I just reach over and grab my guitar and I start humming a little bit or something, you know. But yeah, that's to me that's more fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that I like singing for people, but that is just me and an instrument is what I enjoy most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears once again. Yeah. And it seems as this has been pretty influential for you, but I'm curious as to what role social media has been playing for you as a songwriter. And I think you first thing you told me was you got contacted off of Facebook, or one of the socials to write a song, for something. Yeah. So what role is it playing for you right now?
Right now it is helping me to promote it will help me promote the album. Right. But it also helps me connect with people all across the world. So I've got like these followers in different parts of the world, like Italy or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm able to also, connect with them and get music out that way. Not on any kind of big level, right? But it's still really cool to be talking to people from Italy or talk to them from Ireland or wherever.
Yeah.
So professionally, I don't really know how much social media does for me other than that. I mean, I think that's, just having a few people reach out to me on Messenger. I'm not I just put videos on social media. I don't do a whole lot with it.
You're not out there promoting stuff all the time and
No, sometimes I might run a little ad or something but no.
Yeah. Interesting.
What do you mean by promoting it?
Well, I mean, doing a social media blast. So, when you get a new single out that you're doing, here's the video as a single, keep pushing the video and that kind of thing, or putting out yourself out there as a person. I'm performing here. Here's my advertisement for my gig that I'm playing. And
I do every now and then. I'm not good at that. I've got to do that.
Yeah.
So my friend, producer, Derek Christopher, he was like, you need to get ready and start looking at social media.
Yeah.
And doing a little bit better job at this. I tried to get my daughter to do it for me. She's a director of digital marketing.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you just take over my social media? I'm old. I don't know how to do this stuff. And she's like, Mom, you got to do a TikTok. You got to do an Instagram. I tried it, man. I've got to learn it. I've got to get better.
There's just it's another hat you got to learn. I mean, there's just so much being an independent musician. Yeah, a lot. And that's from a lot of folks that I've talked to, a lot of them don't have that time to do it. They're just like, man, I got to put a picture out of I ate breakfast this morning because I don't have anything else to talk about. I got to have this presence. For me, honestly, I'm really just using it mostly for promoting gigs. Like here's the picture, boom, here's the gig, here's where it's at. That's what I'm using it for. It's not like, when I put out my EP, I put out, little snippet videos of things, but and then actually, I mean, I put it out for the podcast. I'll put out advertisements for the, for each episode, that kind of thing.
I was really busy at first on social media, on Facebook, on the music page, Jennifer Givens Music. I was posting, videos of me doing requests quite a bit.
Right.
And I guess, social media was a big deal to me then on the music page. And, I was just doing what people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But now I've slacked off quite a bit on it. And, I don't really do as much on it because I'm just too busy. I'd love, to eventually, have someone just handle it. And,
would we all?
well, and I may.
Yeah.
We may end up having someone that actually tends to it. So
I hope so. Yeah. When is the album coming out?
Well, it's actually out. We just haven't put it on social media yet.
So you got to put it on social media so people know
we
what's
will.
out.
Well, here's the problem. They're having a problem with that single I told you about.
Okay.
The one that was released before as
Yes.
Jennifer McKee. And now the album is released as Jennifer Givens. So that one single has Jennifer Givens and Jennifer McKee. And so they're trying to, Spotify's having an issue with that.
Wow.
So we have to get that. And then it's, so the album, it's up to the promoter how he wants me to do it. I got to get with him, see how he wants me to put it on social media. Because I know he's going to release The Other Side first. And then after the first of the year, I think he's doing one more song off the album.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But he said just go ahead and put the album out there, but he'll end up promoting it. But it'll be on, I'll post it on social media soon. Then we're doing a music video around The Other Side with GAT3 Productions with Madeline Tabor. Mm-hmm. She's so talented. Mm-hmm. She's so kind. I just love her. And so we're going to do some filming in Edisto Island.
Okay.
And in the mountains for that video. And Jim Brock's going to be in it.
Oh, you got to let us know when it comes out.
Well, it's going to take a minute to film it. So, but I will. Thank you.
Well, Jennifer, as we start to close things out, how do we get in touch with you if we want to find out about all that Jennifer Givens does?
You can go to jennifergivensmusic.com and find out the latest on the album. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page, there'll be a link to all of my social media there. Facebook, YouTube, and you can reach me at jennifergivensmusic@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, Jen, thanks again for coming on, talking, telling us all about the stuff that you do.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to episode 62 of the Queen City Music Podcast, and I hope you'll go back and check out past episodes. You can find the QCMP on your favorite streaming platforms. As always, if you have an idea for an episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our local partners, Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com, Reporting from 20XX at reportingfrom20xx.wordpress.com, Queen City Live at Instagram.com/Queen City Live Music, and Charlotte New Music at charlottenewmusic.org. Until next month, be well and stay safe.